Snow crunched beneath her bare feet as the cold pierced through her thin dress. Abandoned, left to die in the wilderness, a 12-year-old girl, betrayed by the ones who should have loved her. The roar of the engine faded. Silence. Her legs buckled. She collapsed into the snow, her heartbeat slowing. Then, soft footsteps. Crunch, crunch, crunch. A figure in black emerged, moving like a shadow. No words. No flashlight. Just a man who seemed to be waiting for her. Who was he? And why had he come for her? Her name was Elena Merrick, and before the cold almost claimed her life, she had already endured more than most people twice her age. At just 12, she had learned to keep her voice low, her eyes down, and her heart locked away behind walls no one could see. Her presence was quiet, almost ghost-like, yet her mind burned with thoughts too large for a child to carry. She came from the borderlands, a rugged strip of territory separating the last breath of civilization from the wild frontiers, where the rules of law faded into whispers and survival belonged to the cruel, the clever, and the cursed. It was a place where the sun scorched by day, the snow cut like knives by night, and anyone with a secret had come here to bury it. Elena's secret? She didn't speak of it. She couldn't. People said she had a scar just below her left shoulder blade. Not a mark from an accident or a fight. A symbol. Old. Branded into her flesh. Some whispered it was tribal. Others said it belonged to a group that no longer existed or wasn't supposed to. But no one dared ask her about it. Not directly. She had lived with her aunt and uncle on the outskirts of the mining town of Waridge Hollow, a bleak outpost of rusted metal, oil fires, and crumbling stone built into the side of a windswept gorge. They weren't her real family. They never let her forget that. She was the strange child her parents had left behind when they disappeared across the dunes 8 years ago, into a desert ruled by warlords, smugglers, and tribes that believed in ancient magic and blood debts. Her days were filled with chores, her nights with bruises and silence. But Elena never cried. She never rebelled. She only stared at the horizon, as if waiting for something, or someone. That never came. Until that night. When they told her to get in the truck, she obeyed. When they drove her deep into the frozen woods and stopped without a word, she didn't ask questions. And when they told her to walk, she did. No crying. No pleading. Just quiet obedience. Because deep down, she already knew. They had always planned to leave her. And whatever secret she carried, they no longer wanted to be a part of it. Beyond the settlement of Waridge, the world fractured into 1,000 dangers. To the north, the Frostlands, icebound wastelands ruled by the Serevan nomads, known for their deadly precision with long-range bows and their belief that some children were born marked by the old spirits. To the south, the endless red dunes of Kalzar, where sandstorms swallowed entire caravans and whispers spoke of ancient cities buried beneath the sand. It was here, years ago, that Elena's parents vanished. To the west, the volcanic ridges of Mornspire, where smoke poured from the earth like breath from a wounded god, and a mysterious military faction known only as the Vyre was rumored to be building something unnatural. And to the east, the ruins of the Glass Territories, a shattered land of war and experiments, where nothing stayed dead for long. Amid all this chaos lived those who didn't belong anywhere. Mercenaries, exiles, wandering hunters, like Kale Riven, the silent figure who had appeared beside Elena in the snow. He was a man of few words and fewer allegiances. Wrapped in a thick black coat stitched with scraps of older uniforms, he carried a long rifle slung across his back and wore gloves made from the pelt of a beast no one could name. His face was always half hidden, beneath a scarf, a hood, or shadow, but his eyes missed nothing. They said Kale used to be part of the Vyre, that he'd disappeared after a mission gone wrong, that he was a ghost now, stalking the wilds, saving only those who weren't meant to survive. But no one could prove it. No one ever got close enough to ask. What drew him to Elena that night, what made him find her just before the cold claimed her life, remained a mystery. Some said fate. Others said he recognized the scar. But whatever the truth, one thing was clear. He didn't just save her. He chose her. And in doing so, He made enemies neither of them were prepared to face. Elena awoke to the crackle of a fire and the distant creak of trees shifting in the wind. Her body ached. Her skin, now wrapped in thick blankets, still burned from the cold that had nearly stolen her life. But it was warmth she felt now. Real warmth. She sat up slowly inside what looked like a small hunting shelter. The walls were wooden, patched with animal hides. A lantern glowed softly in the corner. And sitting near the entrance, sharpening a blade with quiet, focused movements, was Kale Riven. He hadn't noticed her stirring. Or maybe he had, and simply didn't care. "Where am I?" she croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kale paused, eyes flicking toward her beneath the shadow of his hood. "Safe. For now." Those words hung in the air like smoke. For now? They didn't promise peace. They promised delay. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't ask what had happened. He had already figured it out. "You shouldn't have survived out there," he said after a beat, voice low and rough. "Someone wanted you gone." Elena didn't reply. Her fingers instinctively drifted toward her left shoulder blade, where the faint burn of the old scar throbbed, like it knew someone was coming for her. Kale stood, crossing the small space with slow, deliberate steps. "There's something you're not telling me." Elena met his gaze. Her lips trembled, but she spoke. "They were afraid. My aunt and uncle. I think someone came looking for me." Kale's jaw tightened. "Who?" She hesitated. "He wore black. Tall. Pale eyes. Spoke a language I didn't understand." Kale's expression darkened. He turned away and unrolled a map across the floor, rough, hand-drawn, scarred with burns and bloodstains. He traced a finger over a region marked with a faded symbol, a circle split in half by a blade. "The black sigil," he muttered. "I was hoping they were just a rumor." Elena flinched. "Who are they?" Kale looked at her carefully. "Ghosts of a dead empire. But lately, they've been moving again. Snatching people. Children mostly. Ones with certain marks." She froze. "I think you're one of them," he added. "And they want you back." The next morning, as snow fell in quiet sheets outside, Kale prepared to move. "We can't stay here. They'll track you by scent, heat, pulse. You're not safe anywhere for long." But it was already too late. A sound shattered the silence, a long, echoing whistle, rising from the trees. Not human, not animal. Something in between. Kale went still. Elena stepped closer to the window. The forest outside had gone too quiet. Even the wind had died. Then, movement. Figures appeared between the trees. Dozens. Black coats. Masked faces. No weapons drawn, yet. But they were surrounding the shelter, moving with eerie synchronization. Kale grabbed his rifle. "They're here," he growled. "They found you." A voice echoed through the trees. Calm. Cold. Precise. "Elena Merrick. You carry what does not belong to you. Surrender, and you will not be harmed." Her blood turned to ice. She recognized that voice. It was the same one she had heard weeks ago, when the man came to her uncle's doorstep at night, whispering in a language she couldn't place but somehow understood. Kale aimed through a slit in the wall. "That's Commander Vaskell," he muttered. "Ex-intelligence. Now runs the Sigil's recovery units. If he's here personally, you're more important than I thought." Outside, the masked figures began to fan out. "Elena," Kale said quietly, handing her a satchel. "Take this. There's a tracker inside. Get to the ridge. If you make it to the southern pass, someone will find you. I'll hold them off." She stared at him, eyes wide. "But you'll die." He looked at her, calm. "Not today." Before she could argue, he shoved open the back hatch and pushed her into the snow. "Run," he said. Then he was gone, swallowed by the smoke of a flash grenade as gunfire cracked through the air. Elena ran. Through the trees. Through the fear. Through the rising dread that the life she'd known was over. And just as she reached the ridge, she stopped, because standing there, waiting for her, was someone she never thought she'd see again. Her mother. Only her eyes weren't human anymore. The snow burned her face as she ran. Her breath came in ragged bursts, clouding the freezing air. Behind her, the woods pulsed with chaos, shouts, gunfire, and the unmistakable hum of drone wings slicing through the trees. Elena didn't dare look back. She sprinted through branches clawing at her coat, boots slipping on frost-covered roots. Every muscle screamed. Her mind raced. Her heart pounded. But the image of her mother, pale, cold, and watching from the ridge, was seared into her brain. Was it really her? Was it a trick? Was she one of them now? The satchel Kale had given her slammed against her hip. She didn't know what was inside, only that she had to keep it safe. At the bottom of the ridge, she collapsed behind a boulder, gasping for air. Footsteps crunched through the snow above. Voices, speaking that same clipped dialect the man had used at her uncle's door. "Elena," a voice called. "You are the only one who can stop this. Come with us. You'll be protected. You'll understand everything." She covered her ears. They were lying. They had to be. But the fear that they might not haunted her more. Then, crack. A gunshot echoed. A second later, someone tumbled down the hill near her, bleeding. Masked. Dead. And Kale emerged from the shadows, bleeding from his shoulder, but still standing, rifle in hand. "Time's up," he growled. "We move. Now." They traveled by night. Through frozen riverbeds, hollowed ruins, and miles of abandoned supply tunnels. Kale moved with military precision, clearing paths, checking ridgelines, always listening. Elena followed, silent but observant, growing colder in body and heavier in thought. "What was that thing?" she finally asked as they crouched near a campfire under the remains of a collapsed bridge. Kale didn't answer right away. He stared into the flames like they were showing him memories. "That wasn't your mother," he said at last. "Or, not all of her." "What do you mean?" He looked at her. "They don't just kill people. They change them, rewire them, rebuild them. Call it control. Call it resurrection. Either way, what you saw was a shell." Elena turned away, hugging her knees to her chest. "Then why was she waiting for me?" "Because you're the reason she died," he said flatly. Or at least, that's what they told her. The words stung like a blade. She didn't ask for more. Over the next few days, Elena changed. She stopped flinching at every noise. Stopped crying. Started learning how to hide her footsteps, load Kale's backup weapons, and read wind patterns like he did. But she also started noticing things about him, small things. Like how his left hand trembled when he cleaned his blade. Or how he always stared at the stars for 5 minutes before sleeping, whispering a name under his breath. And she started asking questions. Not aloud. Not yet. But she wondered, who had Kale been before he became a ghost? They reached a checkpoint near the southern pass, an abandoned listening tower now used by rebels and smugglers as a safe haven. Inside, flickering oil lamps cast shadows against the stone. "Don't speak unless I say so," Kale warned her. These people play both sides. They entered the main hall. Half a dozen people turned to stare. One of them, Lisa Varon, a woman with silver hair and eyes like shattered glass, stood slowly from a table. She wore a long brown coat with intricate stitching and a badge shaped like a serpent devouring its own tail. "Elena," Lisa said, smiling. "You've grown." Elena stepped back. Kale moved between them, hand on his blade. "You know her?" "I knew her mother," Lisa said. "We were friends. Once." Kale didn't lower his guard. "And now?" Lisa's smile faded. "Now I'm her only chance of making it out of this alive." That night, Kale argued with Lisa behind closed doors. Elena listened from the hallway. "She doesn't need to know the whole truth," Lisa hissed. "She has to," Kale snapped. "Or she won't survive what's coming." "You still think she's one of them?" "I know she is. She's marked." Elena touched her shoulder, where the scars still throbbed beneath her shirt. Later, Lisa gave her tea and sat close. "There's a reason they want you, Elena," she said gently. "It's not just the mark. It's what's inside you." "I don't understand," Elena replied. "You will. But you need to know something. Kale hasn't told you everything." Elena narrowed her eyes. "Like what?" Lisa hesitated. "Then, your father. He's not dead. He's with them." And Kale knew. Elena confronted Kale at dawn. "You lied to me." He looked at her for a long time. "I protected you. My father's alive. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he's not who you remember. He's not your father anymore." "You don't get to decide that," she said, voice shaking. Kale stepped closer. "They used him, Elena. Just like they're trying to use you. He helped build the tech they're putting in people now, hollowing them out. You think your mother was waiting for you on that ridge because she missed you? He paused. She was sent to collect you. Elena backed away. Her world was unraveling. That night, they were ambushed. Someone inside the checkpoint had sold them out. Lisa was gone. Half the camp burned. Elena and Kale barely escaped, injured and hunted once more. As they limped across the ice fields, Kale collapsed from blood loss. Elena had to drag him into an old bunker on the edge of the Frostlands. For hours, she patched his wounds using everything he had taught her. When he finally woke, he whispered, "You're not just a survivor. You're a weapon they couldn't control." She stared at him, confused and scared. Then he said it. "Your mother and father weren't just scientists. They created the blueprint for Project Echo, the ability to transfer memories and consciousness into reconstructed vessels. You weren't born into this war. You were engineered for it." Outside, the sound of engines rumbled across the snow, and a voice echoed once more, this time louder, closer. "Return the girl, and we will spare the hunter." Elena rose, heart pounding, unsure of who she was anymore, but certain of one thing. She wouldn't run this time. The bunker's silence was shattered by a distant rumble. Elena stood at the frosted window, watching a column of armored transports crawl across the ice, flanked by mechanical hounds. Their engines howled like wolves. Red lights blinked from beneath the snow, motion sensors, thermal drones. They were closing in. Kale groaned behind her, half-conscious, still bleeding. She had done what she could, but without real supplies, his chances were fading. She touched the mark on her shoulder again. Engineered for it. Her parents hadn't just died for their research. They'd built the very nightmare she was now hunted for. And she was part of it. Kale's words still rang in her head. You were engineered for it. But now, Lisa's words haunted her too. Kale hasn't told you everything. As the sun cracked over the frost line, Elena dug into Kale's satchel, searching for something. Answers, proof, anything. She found it. A small, black device wrapped in oilcloth. A data key. She connected it to the bunker's comms panel. And then she saw it. A video, dated 6 years ago, recorded by Kale. He stood in a lab, blood splattered across his uniform. Behind him, glass tubes shattered. Human figures half-grown inside them. Echo units. His voice. This is Kale Wren, former security chief of Project Echo. I've just destroyed Section 9. They were preparing to activate Subject 0. The prototype. Elena. She froze. Kale continued, staring dead into the camera. She's a synthetic. Part organic, part machine. Memory mapped with a full childhood. Implanted history. Implanted grief. But she's too human. They can't control her. They were going to shut her down. He swallowed. I took her. I ran. The video ended. Elena fell back, numb. Her heart felt like it had stopped. Her entire life, her memories, her pain, her love for her parents. It was all implanted? Kale stirred behind her. What did you see? She didn't speak. You weren't supposed to find that yet. You lied, she whispered. I protected you. From what? The truth? From who I really am. She turned to him, eyes wet with betrayal and fury. Am I even real, Kale? Or just a failed experiment? You're more real than anyone out there, he said quietly. Because you feel. You choose. That's what makes you dangerous to them. To you too. He looked away. She didn't need an answer. That night, she walked out alone into the frozen plains. Let them come. Let them see what she really was. The snow swirled around her as the first transport approached. The lead door hissed open, and from within stepped her father. Alive. Older. Cold. Elena, he said, smiling faintly. You've grown. She stepped back. You're not real. I'm as real as you need me to be. I created you. Tears froze on her cheeks. Then why did you abandon me? I didn't. I hid you. You were our greatest hope, and our biggest mistake. Behind him, 2 more figures emerged. Soldiers. One carried a glowing blade. The other wore Kale's insignia. Kale was meant to retrieve you, her father continued. Not protect you, but he got attached. His guilt rewrote his mission. She shook her head. He saved me. He programmed you to think that. She reeled. The world spun. Come with me, her father said, extending a gloved hand. Let us restore what's broken. Let us make you whole. Then, a sniper shot cracked through the silence. One soldier dropped. Then the second. Elena dropped to the ice as a second round exploded near her father's feet. From the ridge behind, Cale, bleeding, shaking, holding a long-range rifle with his one good arm. I told you, he shouted hoarsely. She chooses who she becomes. Her father's eyes darkened. Then she chooses death. The machines surged forward. Cale fired again. Elena turned and ran. But not because she was afraid. Not this time. Because she knew what she had to do. She had to find the truth inside the lie she'd been living. And then use it to destroy everything that made her. Elena sprinted across the frozen terrain, boots slipping on the cracked glacier shelf. Wind howled in her ears like screaming ghosts. Behind her, explosions lit up the night, Cale's last stand. She didn't look back. She couldn't. He'd bought her seconds, maybe minutes. And that would have to be enough. She reached the base of the old satellite tower, one of the last functioning uplinks in the outer wastes. Its antennas stretched high into the dark, starlit sky, a rusted skeleton clawing toward heaven. She scaled the ladder, hands bleeding, lungs burning. Inside the control deck, she slammed the door and dropped to her knees. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but her mind was already racing. The data key, the broadcast protocol. If she could get a signal through, blast the truth about Project Echo to every rebel camp, every outlaw cluster, every neutral zone across the wastelands. Maybe she could stop the coming purge. Maybe they'd see her not as a weapon, but as proof. Proof of what the Dominion was hiding, of what they'd built. But she wasn't alone. She heard the scrape of a boot behind her. Spun around. Lisa, wounded, pale, her pistol raised. Elena, she said coldly. Step away from the console. Elena stared, stunned. You followed me. I never stopped. Lisa's face was blank, but her voice shook. They offered me a deal. My brother's freedom, in exchange for you. Elena's hands rose slowly. You don't have to do this. I do. Lisa's lip trembled. He's in a cell because of me. I got caught smuggling medicine into Red Sector. He took the fall. They're going to kill him if I don't bring you in. Elena's heart pounded. Then let me finish this. Let me expose them. And your brother won't have to live in a world like this anymore. For a moment, just a flicker, Lisa's eyes softened. But then the tower shook. A blast below. The Dominion forces were nearly on them. Lisa's pistol trembled. I can't lose him, Elena. And then, a shot. Not from Lisa. From the doorway. Cale. Bloodied. Limping. Rifle in hand. Lisa fell backward, a red bloom across her chest. No. Elena screamed, catching her before she hit the ground. Lisa's eyes widened in shock and pain. I was going to let you finish, she whispered. I was going to help. Her voice faded. Then silence. Elena stared at Cale, fury and heartbreak ripping through her like ice. She was my friend. She was going to kill you, Cale growled. You don't get to decide who lives or dies. Elena shouted. You said I had a choice. That I was more than them. Cale didn't speak. And then Elena said what neither of them wanted to admit. You're just like them. Cale stepped back as if struck. I never wanted you to be this, he whispered. What? She snapped. Angry? Awake? Alone? Those words hung heavy. But there was no time for comfort. The Dominion troops had reached the base of the tower. Elena activated the console, fingers racing across the dusty controls. The system blinked to life, barely. She inserted the data key, began the upload. A harsh, synthetic voice echoed from below. Elena unit, surrender or be eliminated. She looked to Cale. Go, he said. I'll hold them off. No, not this time. The tower shook again. Gunfire echoed below. A thermal grenade exploded, sending a wave of heat up the steel framework. Elena screamed into the console. Come on, come on. Cale pulled her back just as the blast door cracked open. Soldiers stormed in. He opened fire, taking down two before the rifle clicked empty. Elena grabbed a steel rod, swinging wildly, smashing one attacker's visor. And then, her father entered. Calm, precise. With him, a girl no older than 10. Pale, quiet. Elena froze. Her father's voice. This is Subject 01. The perfected version. You were just the prototype, Elena. Elena's knees buckled. The girl stared blankly. Her face was Elena's face. A child version. Empty of soul, but eerily familiar. We don't need you anymore, her father said. You're unstable. Defective. No. Elena whispered, rising slowly. You don't get to decide what I am. Kale stood beside her, shaking, barely alive. Her father raised a plasma pistol. Then die with him. But before he could fire, the console beeped. Upload complete. Across the outer wastes, every outpost, every smuggler's signal, every black market server received the truth. Project Echo. The experiments. The lies. Elena turned, meeting her father's eyes. It's over. No, he said. It's just begun. He fired. Kale shoved her out of the way, took the shot in the chest. He collapsed, gasping. No. Elena cried, crawling to him. Blood pooled beneath him. He touched her face. You chose who you are. Then he was still. Her scream echoed through the tower. She rose, burning, broken. Her eyes met her father's. You built a weapon, she said. But I became something you never expected. She charged. The fight was savage. He was faster, trained, ruthless. But Elena didn't need to win. She just needed to survive long enough. She kicked the child clone aside, slammed her father into the control panel, grabbing a loose power cable. She pressed it to his chest. Electricity surged. He convulsed and fell. The girl, the clone, just stared. Elena looked down at her. You don't have to be what they made you, she whispered. But the girl said nothing, just turned and walked away. Outside, the tower burned. The Dominion would recover. They always did. But now the world knew. And somewhere out there, others like her, others who had been used, forgotten, discarded, would rise. Elena walked into the snow, Kale's dog tag clutched in her hand. And for the first time, she didn't feel alone. The wind shrieked across the ridge like a dying god. Below, the Dominion war caravan wound its way through the frozen canyon. Armored trucks, biolabs on wheels, escort drones circling like vultures. Inside one of those trucks, Elena knew, they were carrying Subject 01, the perfected clone. She had one chance to stop them. Her body ached. Her coat clung to dried blood. Every breath felt like dragging razors through her chest. But she was here, and Kale's dog tag was still around her neck. She glanced at the silent figure beside her, Rafik, the quiet tracker who'd found her after the satellite tower fell. A scar across his cheek, a sniper's rifle on his back, a hidden past no one questioned. He never said much, but he never needed to. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. No, Elena said. But I have to be. They descended the slope in darkness, weaving between jagged rocks. The plan was brutal in its simplicity. Breach the convoy, intercept the lab truck, and detonate the pulse bomb Elena had stolen from the Red Market vault. One shot. No backup. No second chances. They reached the canyon floor, slipping into the shadows near the rear vehicle. Elena slid beneath it, planted a small charge, then moved forward to the next. And then, she heard it. A whisper behind her. Still trying to be the hero. She spun around and froze. Lisa, alive, wearing Dominion black, wound scarred over, eyes empty. You died, Elena breathed. I almost died, Lisa replied. But they brought me back, fixed me, gave me purpose. You're working for them? I'm working for me now. Lisa stepped closer, weapon raised. You uploaded the data. You think it made a difference? People are scared, Elena. They want to survive. The Dominion gives them that. You give them chaos. I gave them the truth. No one wants truth. They want order. A soft crunch behind them. Rafik, stepping into view. Lisa turned, gun flicking between the two. I'm sorry, Elena said quietly. For what? For not seeing who you really were. Lisa's eyes narrowed. Rafik fired. The bullet hit Lisa in the shoulder, spinning her around. Elena leapt, tackled her to the icy ground, slamming her head into the snow. Lisa snarled, twisted, punched Elena across the jaw. The two women rolled through the frost, fists flying, breath steaming in the cold air. Blood smeared across white ground. Every hit was history. Every scream was betrayal. Lisa reached for her knife. Elena pinned her arm down. I didn't want this, she cried. But you made it happen. Lisa screamed back. You made me choose between you and my brother. And I lost everything. They froze. And for a split second, Elena saw her. The girl she'd once trusted. Who had once saved her life during an ambush near the Serpent Rocks. Who had laughed around the fire. Who had carried Elena when she'd collapsed from hypothermia. And then the knife pierced through. Right into Elena's side. Lisa gasped. She hadn't meant to. But it was too late. Elena's breath caught. Eyes wide with pain. Rafik tackled Lisa off her, slamming her into the snow, pinning her down with his knee. Elena rolled to her side, clutching the wound. Blood soaked her clothes. The convoy began to move again. Rafik looked to her. We're out of time. Elena nodded weakly. Get to the truck. What about you? She looked at Lisa, who lay panting, eyes wild. She's not the mission. Rafik hesitated, then ran toward the lab vehicle. Elena crawled to Lisa, leaving a red trail. Lisa stared at her. Broken. Exhausted. You always had something I didn't, she whispered. What? Hope. Elena gritted her teeth, pulling the knife out slowly. You still can, she said. It's not too late. But Lisa shook her head. Too much blood. Elena reached into her pack, pulled out a stim patch, pressed it to Lisa's neck. Lisa flinched. Why help me? Elena stood with effort. Because that's who I choose to be. Gunfire erupted ahead. A flash. A boom. The lab truck rocked as Rafik tossed the EMP grenade. Elena staggered toward it. Her vision swam. The world tilted. Inside, scientists screamed. Dominion soldiers scrambled. But in the center, strapped to a containment bed, was the girl. Subject 01. Her eyes locked on Elena. Wide. Frightened. Human. She was not a monster. She was Elena's shadow. Her echo. Elena unstrapped her. The girl clung to her, trembling. We have to go, Elena whispered. Too late. Her father entered the truck, blood on his coat, gun in hand. He stared at her. And at the girl. This ends now. No, Elena said. It begins now. He stepped forward. Gun raised. Then, Lisa appeared behind him. Gun smoking. He collapsed. Elena stared, stunned. Lisa dropped the pistol. No more blood, she whispered. Elena helped her up. The three of them, broken, limping, alive, ran into the storm. The Dominion convoy collapsed behind them. The project was over. But the war had only begun. The storm had passed. White winds gave way to blue skies. The canyon was silent, save for the soft crunch of footsteps and the distant echo of falling snow. Elena stood at the edge of the ridge, the sun rising behind her. Her coat was torn. Her side still throbbed from the stab wound. But she was alive. Barely. Beside her stood Subject 01, the clone who had been designed to replace her. The girl looked no older than 16, though her eyes held years of pain. They didn't speak. There were no words left for what they had seen. Farther back, Lisa sat near the remains of the burnt-out lab truck, staring into the flames. Her hand trembled slightly, whether from the cold or what she had done. Elena wasn't sure. You didn't have to save him, Lisa said softly. I didn't, Elena replied. I saved her. Lisa looked at the clone, who now gently traced shapes in the snow with her fingers, like a child discovering the world for the first time. She doesn't know who she is. Neither did we, Elena said. Not really. Rafik limped toward them from the tree lean, rifle slung across his back, face shadowed by fresh grief. He said nothing, just nodded. Elena gave him a weak smile. It wasn't over. The Dominion would come. The world wouldn't change overnight. But for now, they had cracked the foundation. And that was enough. That night, they made a small fire in a hidden cave. Snowflakes drifted outside the opening, but inside, the silence was warm, sacred, almost peaceful. The clone, Elena still hadn't found the strength to name her, sat beside her, watching the flames with wide eyes. Am I real? She asked suddenly. Elena blinked, caught off guard. You are now. The girl tilted her head. Then, who am I supposed to be? Elena stared into the fire. I don't know, but I think you get to choose. The girl smiled softly, and for the first time, Elena didn't see a copy. She saw a future. Later, as the others slept, Elena stepped outside. The stars stretched endlessly overhead. A cold wind brushed her face. From her pocket, she pulled out the old photo Cale had given her. The one of his sister. Of Clara. The girl who had vanished before the war began. The girl who looked exactly like Subject 01. She flipped the photo over. In faded ink, a handwritten note. If she's still out there, tell her I never stopped looking. Kale. Elena's breath caught in her throat. The clone wasn't a replacement. She was a recovery. Clara hadn't died. She had been taken. The Dominion hadn't just cloned her. They had erased her life. And Kale had died without knowing she was still alive. Elena's eyes welled up. She clutched the photo to her chest, whispering, "He never gave up on you." Behind her, the wind carried a sound, barely a whisper. A drone. A red light flickered across the canyon ridge, then disappeared. They were being watched. She turned back, toward the cave. There was no time to mourn. Not yet. The Dominion wasn't finished. And neither was she. But this time, she wouldn't be fighting alone. Fade out. Title card. Left to freeze by her own family. Until a silent hunter appeared.